Welcome to Montessori 101. We're very excited to present to you today. My name is Jenn Schoepf, and I'm the head of school. I have had the honor of working at Westside Montessori for the last 26 years as the Perrysburg and Toledo campuses, as a children's house teacher, administrator, and head of school. I'm the mother of two Montessori children. My son is a senior in high school, and my daughter is an 8th grader at Westside this year.
Hi, my name is Natalie Fisher. I've been working with the 1st through 3rd graders for almost 24 years. I took a brief break from the classroom to work in administration. I learned a tremendous amount, but found my passion was teaching children. My son and daughter both graduated from Westside. My daughter is now a freshman in college, and my son is a freshman in high school. My husband was one of the first Westside graduates, and my mother-in-law founded Westside and was head of school for many years.
So today we will focus on the history of Montessori, the planes of development, and Montessori philosophy. So what is Montessori education all about? This is the most frequently asked question and the most difficult to answer. Why? Because Montessori education is not a curriculum or a sequence of learning materials, although it includes both. It is at its core an approach to life and encompasses a belief system about how children develop from infancy to adulthood and how to prepare a learning environment that frees them to become their best selves. Montessori is a whole child approach, equally as interested in nurturing a child's spirit and moral development as well as their intellect.
Maria Montessori was born in Italy in 1870. Growing up, she was not your typical girl. She was determined to become a doctor, even though at the time there were no female doctors in Italy. Despite pressure from her dad and the boys in her classes, Maria persevered and graduated. One day, Dr. Montessori was visiting an orphanage. She observed children in a stark environment playing with crumbs on the floor. She felt children needed more to develop. This ignited an interest in children and how they learn, so she began to observe children playing and learning. She used her science background to study children, and these skills helped her to develop the Montessori philosophy.
She opened the first Casa di Bambini, or children's house, in Rome in 1906. Although she died in 1952, her theories of child development and learning based on observation of young children continued to be embraced in countries around the world.
Dr. Montessori's many years of working in Casa dei Bambini led her to believe that the work of the child is to create the man he will become. Montessori schools create learning environments that allow the work of the child to flourish. By work, she meant that children go through different developmental stages or sensitive periods when they are best able to learn. During each stage, the Montessori philosophy makes sure that the environment, learning materials, and teachers are all prepared to help the children. Each multi-age classroom is designed to give the children what they need to develop academically, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. Dr. Montessori was a keen observer of children. Her studies led her to describe 6-year cycles leading to adulthood. The first cycle was birth to 6, called infancy. The second was ages 6 to 12, called childhood. 12 to 18 years is called adolescence, and from 18 to 24 years, it is defined as adulthood.
Dr. Montessori's observations working with a wide range of children led her to her insight in children's developmental stages and provided the basis for educational philosophy and methodology. Dr. Montessori called the period from birth to age 6 the first plane of development. Authentic Montessori schools are divided into 3-year age spans that match these developmental planes. At birth, a child comes into the world full of promise and potential. We have no way of knowing what the potential is or how it will be realized. All parents and educators can do is help the child along the way. This is a difficult journey and a period of self-construction. It's an enormous task. Traditional education assumes that human development is linear. Every year you learn more and more and build on what you learned from in the past. Montessori has a different perspective. Human development is not perfectly linear. Learning occurs in cycles and peaks and valleys. Birth to 6 is the most important time of a child's development since they are creating themselves. Developing their personality, their quirks, their likes, their dislikes, and at the same time developing physically. Learning to move, crawl, walk, run, read, and speak. Energy goes into constructing themselves. Children in the first plane of development have what Montessori called the absorbent mind. From birth to age 3, without effort, the child soaks up everything in their learning environment. This is called the unconscious absorbent mind. From age 3 to 6, this absorption becomes conscious. Throughout both of these periods, the enormous task of growing and learning is made more manageable through these sensitive periods. These windows of time in which a child is driven internally to master a skill, and if he is allowed, he will develop skill more easily and naturally than any other time in their life. Humans go through sensitive periods for movement, for order, for spoken language, for written language, math, and many, many more. By the end of this first plane of development, these sensitive periods should be completed and the child is ready to move on to the second plane from 6 to 12.
The second plane of development is from 6 to 12 years of age. This spans 2 of our programs, the lower and upper elementary. Each one is carefully designed to meet the maturing needs of the students. Children in the second plane of development are becoming more social. They are developing a conscious, moral order, sense of right and wrong, along with creating intelligence, passing from concrete to abstract thinking. Socially, children at this age level are becoming more interested in having friends and spending time with them. Playing with friends can bring up situations about fairness and social conflicts. Montessori teachers in these programs realize this important social sensitive period and support children by giving them strategies for understanding and navigating the new social and moral worlds they are entering. Academically, students come into this plane very concrete thinking. They are using Montessori math materials to build numbers and solve problems. They use the Montessori grammar symbols to identify parts of speech. They use our Montessori nomenclature cards to learn about geography, botany, science, history, and more. All of these materials are hands-on and provide movement for these active learners. However, as their minds mature, they begin to solve problems abstractly, and they do not need to use the materials as much anymore. You'll notice a change from the lower elementary to the upper elementary programs. In the upper elementary programs, the materials become a smaller part of the classroom because the students are thinking more abstractly now. 6 to 12-year-olds are oriented toward intellectual investigation and discovery. They want to know why. They want to understand the world at a deeper level, to understand the relationship between ideas. Who am I? What am I good at? What do I stand for? Montessori taught that successive levels of education must correspond to the successive personalities of children at each stage of development. During the elementary years, children develop a considerable degree of intellectual consciousness and want to know about the world around them. They want to understand how and why certain things are interconnected. Their thirst for knowledge and curiosity must be embraced and supported at school to keep their passion for learning alive. Dr. Maria Montessori said, "The child should love everything that he learns, for his mental and emotional growth are linked. Whatever is presented to him must be beautiful and clear, striking his imagination. Since it has been seen to be necessary to give so much to the child, let us give him a vision of the whole universe. The universe is an imposing reality and an answer to all questions." So, what is Montessori education in the elementary years about? Montessori educators aim to give children the whole universe. Dr. Montessori and Montessori teachers call it cosmic education. Cosmic education allows children to explore their questions about the world. She believed that if you give children the whole and the opportunity to see the parts of the whole and how they're interconnected, it's the only way that you'll truly satisfy the elementary child, the child who asks endless questions. Rather than sit and learn what has been chosen for them, she believed children should be given everything to explore. So, how do Montessori educators do this? One way is by telling stories, impressionistic stories. By tapping into children's great imaginations and desire to learn about big topics, teachers ignite a flame for learning and provide a framework for future projects. One great example is that the lower elementary students gather at the beginning of the year to experience the first great lesson. This lesson is presented by teachers. It's not a lesson in the traditional sense with information to be memorized and tested. It is a dramatic, impressionistic presentation with visual and sound effects designed to ignite the imagination, interest, and curiosity in the child about the formation of the universe. We have follow-up discussions and we tell our students that there are many different explanations for the formation of the universe. We invite students to discuss their family beliefs and to talk about other beliefs, including religious ones. Instead of shying away from the fact that humans throughout history have the same need to understand who we are, where we came from, and what we are doing here, we embrace the mystery. Think how powerful that is. Dr. Montessori said that Montessori elementary teachers must be a storyteller of truth. She told teachers to sow as many seeds of interest into the fertile minds of the children as are possible. Some will germinate now, and others will be held to do so later. In 6 to 12 classrooms, there are 5 great lessons and many more impressionistic lessons to be engaging and sparking the children's interest. Imagine second graders learning about numbers in the decillions. Yes, second graders. Telling an impressionistic story about a one-of-a-kind street called Infinity Street and using colorful, hands-on materials, students learn the name of houses on the street that correlate to our place value system. By the end of the lesson, they are excited and energized to read and build numbers with over 36 digits. It's the magic of Montessori.
Montessori considered the preparation of the teacher to be the most important part of preparing the environment. Teachers approach children as equals in the sense that we are all humans with the same needs and deserving of the same level of respect. Teachers create an open-ended place where children can become their very best selves. They model grace and courtesy, offering liberty within limits, the limits being the safety and needs of the others. They facilitate the match between the child and the learning materials and observe each child's developing personality in order to guide them to discover their potential. Teachers create a small world of peace and harmony where quiet voices and careful movement allow children a calm and unhurried way to be. Dr. Montessori was no pushover. Montessori teachers are no pushover. Teachers stop children from destructive behaviors in order to free them to be contributing members of our little democratic world. If necessary, teachers may remove a child from a classroom environment to give them an opportunity to gain self-control and then go back in and try again. Within this kind of emotional, physical space, children learn freely from each other and develop the confidence to take responsibility for their own learning. Montessori children are empowered and powerful. Montessori teachers create a safe emotional climate where children are not afraid to fail. Asking questions is a sign of engagement, not of ignorance. They observe the children in order to determine their individual needs. And they prepare the learning environment, the physical environment, as well as the emotional and social environment. Everything in the classroom is there for a reason. There's a rationale, carefully thought, meticulous care, and a great deal of time invested in the part of the teachers. The environment must nurture and entice children to learn. It is never static.
In Montessori classrooms, children learn best by imitating the adults in their lives. This is why we emphasize modeling behavior that we as Montessori teachers would like to see in the classroom. If we want children to walk in the classroom, we walk. If we want children to use quiet voices, we do so ourselves. In addition to being good role models, Montessori teachers are trained observers. They're looking for signs of sensitive periods and periods of concentration. They take note of a child's excitement about learning something new. Teachers observe these moments and use them as learning opportunities to support the child's development. Touring a Montessori classroom and a school, you may observe a 3-year-old hanging over the shoulder of a 5-year-old who is reading, a lower elementary child concentrating on research of a new dwarf planet they found out after the great lesson, or notice upper elementary and middle school students deep in conversation in a group study project. Montessori teachers believe that you should create a carefully prepared physical, mental, social, and emotional environment. Children need freedom to move and act in their environment and try without fear of failure. Montessori teachers also know that what we need to do is give children opportunities to learn from their mistakes. It's okay for a children's house student to spill beans during a spooning work. No one will yell or probably even look up to see what happened. Friends may gladly come to help the child pick them up. In the elementary program, it's okay to have disagreements or misunderstandings when working in a group with peers. The students learn to be resourceful and create solutions to their conflicts. In Montessori classrooms and the Montessori classroom students and teachers support each other and allow for mistakes. We give them time to develop. Child development cannot be rushed. Each child has his or her own timetable. Dr. Montessori said, Education is a natural process carried out by the child, and it is not acquired by listening to words, but by experiences in the environment.
So many parents ask for ways to support their child at home during these developmental periods. Respecting what your child can do and allowing them to do it, encourage their effort and show confidence in their ability. Allow them to make mistakes and do not overprotect them from the consequences. Make sure your child is getting enough sleep. Provide consistent consequences for misbehavior and expect your child to respect you as you respect them. Teach them they have rights with responsibility and have fun.
What makes Montessori schools different? Montessori classrooms have carefully prepared rich educational environments offering choices with freedom and responsibility. Our classrooms provide hands-on materials and impressionistic lessons that teach high-level skills. Our programs offer multi-age spans that allow peers for peer teaching and leadership development. Montessori education in elementary and middle school programs places a central emphasis on the cultural curriculum. We teach reading, writing, and math so that students can learn about the sciences, geography, history, and health. Our elementary and middle school curriculum follows a humanity-oriented approach in which lessons are carefully interwoven, allowing for students to learn to read, conduct research, and write about subjects that have gripped their imaginations. Our K-8 programs meet or exceed Montessori and state standards. Montessori teachers are also focused on meeting the unique needs of each age group they teach, supporting the whole child's emotional, social, academic, physical, and spiritual needs. Our school places a high level of attention to treating everyone and everything with respect and dignity. Our students learn that every person and everyone's thoughts and opinions matter.
Westside Montessori students are confident communicators, self-motivated learners, and compassionate leaders. We thank you for partnering with us in the education of your children, and thank you very much for attending today. Thank you.
Thank you.